Hey everyone, welcome to the Coding Zoo. If this is your first time joining, my name is Shane and this is the JavaScript Building Blocks series. In today's lesson, we are going to cover destructuring and we're going to cover the REST parameter. If that interests you, hey, stick around, we're going to jump right in. All right, hey, so let's go ahead and get started. On my screen, I've prepared some code for us. We're going to go over destructuring and we're going to go over the REST parameter syntax. So first, let's talk about destructuring. What is destructuring? Destructuring uses the syntax like the spread syntax with the ... or period, however you want to call it. But the difference is the context. Destructuring is used in a way to unpack values from an array into distinct values, or it's used to unpack values from an object, its properties from an object into distinct other values, such as constants. So spreading, you can extract them also, but you're really spreading them to put inside of another object. You're creating another object. It's very fine line between the two. It's kind of hard. I find it kind of hard to explain. Sometimes get it mixed up myself. Let's jump in and look at the code. Let me uncomment this real quick. Okay, so let me add the food array real quick. So I have an array here called food. It has salad, steak, corn, apple pie, and peach cobbler. Boy, that sounds good. I'm starting to get hungry. I haven't had lunch yet. Okay, so I have a food array, and I want to extract that food array into distinct constants. I want to take the entries from that array and create constants out of it. How would I do that? I would do that with destructuring. I have constant. I'm creating a bunch of constants. I've got appetizer, and notice I use the array bracket here. So I've got appetizer, main course, vegetable, and I don't really care to extract the rest of the array, and in this case it would be desserts, into distinct values. So I'm just going to extract the rest of the array into a new smaller array. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty, we often use that. I'm going to take the food array. I'm going to have a constant called appetizer, main course, vegetable, and then I'm going to have another array called desserts that's a smaller array. This is destructuring. Let's go ahead and see if it works. I'm going to write out these constants. Control S to save. Refresh, there we go. So here's my appetizer, it's a salad, so I printed it out with the constant, steak and corn, and here's my new array that takes the rest of the array and it put it into this desserts constant. So that's pretty cool, love it. That's destructuring an array into one object or array into multiple constants or variables. Destructuring. Let's go back and what about an object? Can I destructure an object? Let's try that out. I am going to uncomment this. Okay, so I have a meal object. That meal object has a drink, an appetizer, a main, and a soup property. I'm going to create these new constants. The constants are drink, main, and my course. So what does that mean? Well, I want to extract, I want to destructure this meal object into these two constants, drink, and I want to call the main, instead of calling it main, the main property, instead of calling it main, I'm going to rename it to a new constant. So here, I'm taking the drink property from meal, and I'm defining a constant called drink. Well, if I want to take the main property, but I don't want to call the new constant main, here's the syntax I would use. I would say main colon, which is saying give me the main property from the object, and here's my course. And this is the new variable name for that value. That's the new constant. In essence, I'm creating a drink constant from the drink property, and I'm creating a my course constant from the main property of this meal object. I'm destructuring. I should print it out here. Let's go ahead and see if it works. And there we go. So I have drink, iced tea, and my main course is catfish jambalaya. Oh Man, I love jambalaya. I am really getting hungry. And you notice when I wrote out the main course, I used the variable, the constant, my course. It wasn't main. Pretty simple, very easy. Love this syntax. Again, this is something we use every day, constantly, all the time. It's very nice, very simple. How about destructuring an object when you're calling a function? Well, you know you can spread an object or array before you call the function and pass in that spread parameters to the function. And that's where a function takes in multiple parameters, and you have an object and you want to spread that object into multiple parameters before you call that function. In this case, we have a function, and that function is expecting one object, and it's expecting that one object to have these properties. But instead of just taking in that object and creating constants out of the properties on the object afterwards, we just kind of take the object and spread it into constants right here at this part of the function as the parameters are passed in. Hopefully that makes sense. I have eat Cajun food, and I have this meal object that I created up here. So eat Cajun food, I'm passing in the object. The function expects an object, and it expects that object to have these properties. It's going to destructure that object into constants, and then I'm going to print the constants out one by one here. So I'm actually destructuring an object as the parameter as part of passing it in to the function. Function itself destructures the object that's being passed in. So the signature of that function is an object. It specs an object, and it specs an object with these properties. It has an API, it has a signature. It's a shorthand to say, go ahead and take these properties from that object. And it doesn't have to be all the properties. It can be just a few of those properties, and turn them into constants. And that way I can use them one by one instead of having to call the object. Let's go ahead and save. Let's see what happens when we print it out. There we go. So I was able to print each constant: iced tea, frog legs, crawfish gumbo, and undefined. So hey, I've got a bug there. Wonder what that bug is. I am just running into all kinds of bugs today. All right. So my main meal in my main course in the meal object is called main. It's not called main course, right? So messed up there, didn't I? Or did I? So let's change that. I want to call it main course. I don't want to call it main. So I'm going to do main. So I want to grab the main property from that object, and I want it to go into a new constant called main course. And I'm going to print that out. There we go. Catfish jambalaya. A function expects an object. It takes that object and destructures it into constants. And I was actually able to, instead of use the property names for constant names, I was actually able to change one of those property names into a new name for the constant called my course, or main course. Yeah. Hopefully it makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment below. All right, what if that object has child objects? What if there's a parent object and that object has a property, and that property has another object on it? Can I destructure that very simply, very easily, in, let's say, just a few lines of code? Let's try it out. Uncomment this. So here I have a groceries object. It has my bread, my drink, and it has my snacks, which is an object. It's object literal. It has a healthy snack and it has a sweet snack, fruit and brownies. So we have our object and we have a child object inside of that object as a property. All right, let's go ahead and destructure it. So we have the constant declaration. I'm saying, hey, take that my bread property, name it a constant name of bread. I'm taking the my drink property. I'm using the my drink property name as the constant name. And here I'm saying take the my snacks object and go ahead and destructure it into two constants called healthy and sweet. So that's the syntax. I'm saying, hey, grab that my snacks property, and I'm going to go ahead and destructure it too. So I basically have a destructure type statement And inside of that is another destructure type statement. So you can actually destructure a hierarchy of objects in a given object tree. Very cool, pretty neat. It can get somewhat tedious if you try to go too deep, so I wouldn't overuse this. But for small examples like this, for small objects like this, it works great. All right, I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 constants. 1, 2, 3, 4. Should print those out. Save it. Click refresh. There we go. So there's my wheat rolls, my tea, my fruit snack, which is my healthy snack, and my brownies, my sweet snack. There you go. Pretty easy. All right, so that is destructuring. Very simple stuff. It's very similar to spreading. It's the same syntax. It's all about the context and how you use that syntax. Okay, so we have one more item to cover for this lesson. It's called a rest parameter. A rest parameter is basically a way for a function to supply an interface where you can pass in as many items as you want, as many parameters as you want, and it will take those parameters and put them into an array for you, and then you can process those parameters as an array. Let's take a look at that. So here I have a sort food function, and its parameter is called items. This is the syntax. It's like the spread syntax, it's like the destructuring syntax, but in this case I'm saying, hey, I take multiple parameters and I want those multiple parameters to be put into the parameter constant called items. So this items actually turns into an array. If I document right out this function, sort food, passing in these multiple parameters, carrot, banana, and apple, it's going to take in all three of those parameters and put them into an array for you. Now, I also, keep in mind, I could also add other values. I'm going to add pizza. And let's save it. So it can take n number of values. Refresh. All right, the function took n number of parameters, it turned them into an array, and then it sorted that array. Apple, banana, carrot, pizza in order. Very cool. That's it. It's that simple. If you need a function that can take in multiple parameters, n number of parameters, and you want to process all of those parameters, you use the rest. It turns those parameters into an array, and you can just process that array. Very simple. How many times did I say simple in this lesson? Well, I can't help it. Spread and destructuring and the rest, they're very simple. They might seem intimidating at first, but once you learn the rules, it's very simple and it's awesome. It's very helpful, easy syntax to use. I love it. Hopefully you will too. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. If you like the video, click like for us. Hey, and spread the word. If you know anybody who wants to program, learn how to program, send them our way. We'd love to teach them. Our goal with Coding Zoo is to help you learn how to program. So definitely hit us up if you have any questions. If you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button, click the bell for alerts, and I hope to see you again in the next video.